So I'm assuming my screen is visible to everyone. If not, then kindly let me know.
Yeah, I can see your screen. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So here, before we are going to proceed ahead, these are some housekeeping rules which we should maintain in our session. Like, we have to mute our mic and you can ask your questions in the chat window. And I will be taking your questions in the last 10 minutes of our session. So today's agenda will be, first we will have a quick overview, like what are the types of component we have in our LWC, and why there is a need of LMS. And then we will go through the few basic terms used in the LMS. Then there are few subtopics in the LMS, like creating a message channel, publish on message channel, subscribe and unsubscribe of message channel. But as of now, don't worry about these topics. As we will go ahead, these things will start looking simpler to all of us. Now then, at the last, we will see some key pointers, like where we can use this LMS and where we can't. So let's proceed ahead. So as we all know, the types of communication in between components in LWC. There are three types of communication. First, the type of communication which we have is parent to child. So what happens? We have a parent component which has a child component inside it. So we can transfer data from parent to child and child to parent. So here, this is the first type of communication, parent to child. Second comes as child to parent. So here we are having a relationship between in the two components. Now comes the third type, which is the unrelated components, where there is no kind of relationship between the two components. These two components can be any type of component. This can be the LWC component, it can be Aura component, can be a visual force page, or it can be the utility items as well. So here, how we can deal with such unrelated components? This is our question. So then we have to communicate between two unrelated components. In that case, LMS comes into the picture. LMS, it is a lightning message service. It is a publisher and subscriber method. And we can communicate in between the unrelated components, or we can communicate across the subtrees in the DOM. Now let's have another look of this PPT. Yeah. So basically, what is an LMS? So LMS, here we can see this picture. If we will have a quick look on it, we can see there are several elements, like element 1, element 2, element 3, element 4. All these elements are unrelated to each other. But if I have to pass data from this element to this element, or if I have to do a communication between this element and this element, so how we can do this? By creating a LMS channel. So LMS channel will be an intermediate element, or kind of a channel, you can think. So there are two components involved in between one communication. So the first component, which is going to send a data, it will be the publisher component. And the component which is going to receive the data or the message, we can say, it will be our subscriber component. So how this publisher component will send the data to the subscriber component? First of all, we need to create a LMS channel in between these two components. So what will happen? This publisher component will publish the message, or you can see the data. Here in the LMS, we call it as a message. So it will publish a message to that intermediate channel, the LMS channel, and then subscriber component will subscribe, or you can say take that message from that channel. So this is how, based on the channels, we can communicate between two unrelated components. So now the another question comes, like how we can create this channel. So to create this channel, we need to follow few steps. Here we will use lightning message channel metadata type. Okay, so it is not a component, it is a metadata type. So it is a metadata type, so it will be having a structure like of name and the fields as well. So first of all, how we can create this channel? So for creating this channel in our VS Code, in the directory force app, and inside the force app we will go to the main, and in the main when we will come to the default, we need to create a folder. So how we can create a folder? We can do a right click and we can go with the new folder over here, and we need to follow these steps as it is. And if we will change any kind of a term or the naming convention, it will throw us an error. So here we will do like message channels. So when I will do this message channels, what will happen? It will first, oh, just my bad. I did a spelling mistake for channels. Yeah. So what I will do, I will create a folder with the name of message channels. So right now it is not letting me to create it because I am already having it in my system, but you guys can create this folder in your system. So once we create this message channels folder, we need to create a XML file inside it, a metadata XML file inside it. So let me just quickly show this. I am having a folder message channels in my system, and then I'm having this file inside my system. But now we have to follow a naming convention while creating this file. So let's have a quick look like what is that naming convention. So when we are creating the file, the name format should be like message channel name, whatever the name you are going to give to your message channel, it can be anything. And then we need to put a period, then it will be a message channel hyphen meta.xml. We need to follow this naming convention, and once we will follow this naming convention, a file will get created. It will be an empty file. This code I have written over here. So we will follow the syntax. I will tell you like what is that particular syntax. So whenever we create any XML file, we need to start it with this XML tag. Then we are using a lightning message channel tag. Why we are using this? Because we are creating a lightning message channel. So when we are creating this lightning message channel, the first thing which we will provide is the master label. You can put this master label at any place, means it is not fixed like you have to just give it just after opening the tag. It can be here as well. You can put the master label here as well. But the thing is, if we have ever noticed, like we in the LWCs, we generally not every time put this master label, right? So basically what is this master label? It gives the name to your lightning message service or the channel, right? And if you will skip this step, you will get an error like a field is missing, a required field is missing from your this channel, right? So here it can be any name. It is not compulsory that it should be the name same as of your message channel, but it is recommended like if you will give some name which is going to describe your message channel. Then comes the is exposed tag. So this is exposed tag should be true because yes, we want to expose it so that we can use it. Then comes the description. It is just the information about my messaging channel. Like this message channel, this is a message channel which will pass the count updates. Now, what is this count updates and the stuff? Before proceeding ahead, let me just give a quick small demo, like what this message channel will going to do. Okay, so here I am having two components, component 1, and this is my component 2. So this component 1 is the publisher component, the component which will pass data, or we can say message, to the LMS channel. And then that LMS channel, and then the subscriber component can take data or message from that LMS channel. Now you might be thinking, where is that channel? We can't, a channel is not a component, we can't see it, but it is existing here, right? So now the next thing comes here is how this is going to work. Let's say I'm clicking on the add button. So when I have clicked on the add button, what has happened? The count got increased by the number 1. Means when I've clicked on the add, our number 1 got added or the passed through to the LMS channel, and this subscriber has component has took that number 1 here and is rendering that number 1 on the screen. Now if I can do any kind of operation, I can multiply it by 3, I can subtract it, and this is how it is working. So whatever the action I'm performing here, it gets passed to the channel, and then subscriber takes that message from the channel and renders it on its screen. Okay, so here we can see what we are using in the publisher area. We are using add, multiplication symbol, subtraction. So these are what are these? These are operators. And with this, what I'm using a number like 2, 3. When I'm doing a addition, I'm using a number 1. When I'm doing a subtract, I'm using a number 1. So here comes the two things. I'm using two fields over here, lightning message fields, which we say. As I told you, it is a metadata type. It is not a component. So it has name and fields. So here I'm having a field, let's say operator. And here I have given the description about it. You can give any number of fields you want to. It is not a fixed like you have to only give two fields over here. It's based on your requirement. Then I want a constant, the number which I am going to take, because basically I will be passing the operator and the number to the channel. So this is how we can create our LMS channel. After doing this, we need to deploy. How we can deploy? Doing a right click, go with this deploy this source to all. Once this process will get done, then comes the next thing, which is a publisher component and a subscriber component. I'm hoping or assuming that we are clear with this much of range. I will take the questions at the last. Okay. Now the next thing is publish on message channel, or how we can create a publisher component. So let's go through the PPT. To publish messages on a message channel from our Lightning Web component, we need to include @Salesforce/message channel scope module in our JavaScript file. And then we need to call the publish function of this LMS. So first of all, how we can proceed ahead? This is one file which I have already created, remote control.js. So in this file, from this module, message service, I have imported publish function, and also how we need to add our channel over here as well. So how we can add our channel? This is the thing, @Salesforce/message channel, and then comes the channel name. So if you can see, my channel name here is, it is count_updated, right? This is my channel name. So that's why I have written here count_updated. Now please make a note, whenever we write the name of the channel, we do need to append __c at the last. Okay. Now we can import it with any name. I have taken the name count updated channel. You can take whatever the name suits you. After doing this, there are few things which we need to keep in our mind. Here, I am extending the lightning element. I am creating this LWC extending the lightning element. So that's why here we need few things like, okay, whenever we work with the LMS, we need few things like message context, and then we need a payload, and then also we need a channel to publish a message. So let me repeat it again. When we have to publish a message to a LMS, we will be using a publish function. This publish function or method takes three parameters. So these three parameters, first is the message context, second comes the count updated, second comes the channel name, third comes the payload. Payload, it is basically a message what we are passing uh, uh, to the channel. Now comes like, what is that message context? Message context is an object which provides us information about the lightning web component. Okay, so the about the lightning component which we are using in our LMS. So how we can create this message context? We can create it by writing wire and message context. inside it, and then by using this property. So here I have already imported the message context, and then this is how I'm creating its object. Now, one key point here is I am creating the LWC using lightning element, and that's why I can use here at the rate wire property, or I should say the decorator. But if I am using any service component where we don't use lightning element, right, for our component, in that scenario I cannot use at the rate wire decorator to create my message context. Now maybe you are thinking, then what we will do in such scenarios? In such scenarios we have a method known as create message context. So what does this create message context do? It is a function which will create a message context, and we can provide it inside a field. So what does that mean? Here, just for example, what instead of this, what I can do, I can just create here, let's say context, and here I will write create message context. So by doing this, what will happen? An object of create message context will get created, and it will get assigned to the context here. Okay. Now, what is the next thing which we are going to cover? Once the message context got created, I want, like, whenever I'm doing any action on my screen, let's say I'm clicking on the plus button. So what I want to my channel to know, I want that it should know that I have clicked the addition button, and the value it should have a +1 value, right? So here I'm not going in much depth for our HTML. So for the HTML we have a button, and whenever I click on that button for the ad, it calls the handle increment function. So I'm not going in much depth for the HTML. Let's focus on the LMS more. So this function gets called whenever I click on the add button. So what happens? It is creating a payload, data you can say, or you can say a message. In LMS we call it a message. So in the payload, what I want, if you all have remember, here I have created two fields, operator and constant, right? So we have to pass the data into these two fields. So my operator is going to be the add, and the constant value which I am passing, it is the one, right? So this is how I have created a payload. But how I am going to pass this data to my messaging channel? Using the publish method. So as I have informed earlier, publish method takes three parameters. First is the message context object, right? Which we are having with the wire. But if we are not using wire, and if we are using this, then how we can use? I can just simply write over here context. Then we will have like it. Then we will have it like this dot context, when we are using any service component which is not extending the lightning element. Okay. Yeah. No. Sorry. Then the second parameter will be our channel. So here I have imported my channel with the name of count updated channel. And the third thing will be the payload, the data or the message which we are passing. So here I am passing this payload over here. Same goes with the subtract button. For the subtract, I am having an handle decrement. Here what happens, the payload is like operator is subtract, constant value is 1. Again I am creating a publish, again I am calling a publish method. Here I am passing the message context, this is the channel name, and then we have the payload again. Then comes the multiply again. In the multiply, we are giving the pay operator, which is multiply constant factor. Basically I have created a child component of that. So when I'm creating on the multiply 2, it passes the 2 value in the factor, When I'm clicking on the multiply 3, it passes the 3 number in the factor. That is just a child to parent relationship. So here also it calls the publish method, and in the publish method passing the message context which we have created through the wire or decorator. Then we have the channel and the payload. So this is how my publish component has been created. Now my publish component has been created, my channel is ready. Third thing which comes into the picture is the subscriber component, the component which will take the data or the message from the channel. So here I am having count.js as my subscriber component. So when we are using this subscribe component or creating a subscribe component, here we need to import the method subscribe. Like in the publisher component, we were we were importing the publish method. Here we need to import the subscribe method. Here are few things which we will keep in our mind. Like here we will be using a function subscribe to message channel, which will help us to do the task of this subscribing thing. So whenever this function will get called, first of all, it will check whether my subscription is null or not. If the subscription is null, it means yes, we can go ahead and subscribe. We can take the message. If my subscription is not null, means it is still in use and it is not unsubscribed yet. Hence, I cannot proceed ahead. So how we can make it null and how we can check all these things? First of all, we are creating a field with the value null, right? Here, if we want, we can put a null check over here. We can write like a condition like this. If this dot subscription, and well, this is an optional part, but if we want, we can do it like this, and I can put my code here. So if the dot subscription exists, then what will happen? My subscribe method will get called. It will create a subscribe object which will get passed to the subscription, this subscription field. Okay. So how this subscribe function works, we know in the publish it takes 3 arguments. First is the message context, second is the channel, third is the payload. Now what happens in the subscribe? It takes the message context just like the publish, it takes the channel name just like the publish, but third thing, it is the listener. Now what is a listener? As a message is going to be passed to a channel, my subscriber component will get alerted. So it will listen the message. We can just take it like like whenever we get a call on our phone. So we get alert to that phone call, and we just pick it up and we listen it, right? What the other person is saying, right? So when the other person is saying it, that person is transferring us some information, right? So we are just listening it. What is our work? We are listening it. The same thing is happening here. So a communication is getting done between two components. So this subscriber component listens the message, right? So for that, we need to create a listener. Basically, it is a function which will let us know what will happen when a data or a message will come. So here I have created an arrow function. So this is arrow functions are just like the normal functions, but you can just read about more as well. Here I'm using the arrow function so that when a message will come, it is a listener, it will take the message from the channel. Now I have to do a task. Now a subscriber will do a task based on that message. So what will happen when a message comes? It will call a handle message function, right? It will call a handle message function which will take this message as an argument. So here I have created a handle message function which takes the message as an argument. Again, I am telling this part, listener will listen the message and based on that it will call a function or perform a task. So it will listen a message and then it will call the function handle message which I have created over here. It can be any name. Then we need to pass that message inside the argument so that based on that it can work. So now here what is happening, what is this line prior count? If you are thinking, if I will show here, it is showing me the prior count, the previous value of this count, right? So that's why before changing the counter, I am storing the previous value of my counter to the prior count so that I can see the value over here. Okay. So now what will happen? This message will store the payload. Okay, I am repeating again what this message will be having. It will be having the payload. And if I will go back here and have a look, what is this payload? It has operator and the constant value, right? So here if I have to check what operator it is, like how will I come to know? Like I have clicked the add and increase it by 1. So I will check what operator I have clicked at that moment. So if the message dot operator is add, means I have clicked on the add button. So whatever the previous value of the counter was, just add the constant value, message dot constant value inside it, right? The same we will do for the subtract, the same we will do for the multiply. So this is how it works. Now you are thinking, maybe you are thinking like, okay, what about this subscribe to message channel? How this will get called? This will get called as soon as my component will be added into my DOM. So how my component, how it will get alerted or how it will know that my component get added into the DOM? By calling this method into the connected callback function. So we all know like connected callback works whenever a DOM, whenever component is added into the DOM, right? So once the component will get added into the DOM, subscriber to message channel will get called. As it will get called, it will come here and it will check for the subscription whether it is null or not. If it is null, sorry, if it is null, I need to put this. If it is null, then it should work. If it is not null, then it won't be doing these tasks. So if it is null, then it should be this dot description will store the subscribe object. Let me tell again, publish method, what does the publish method does? It puts the data to the LMS channel. Subscribe method takes the data and there is a listener function which handles that message or the data. But what does this subscribe function do also? It creates a subscribe object. This subscribe object will get into the subscription field. Now maybe you are thinking where we can use this subscription field. We can use this subscription field when we are going to unsubscribe the channel. Unsubscribe the channel means when we don't want my message context to be subscribed anymore. Okay, so how this thing will work? Actually what happens in the LWC lighting web components, uh, we don't need to write it for the unsubscribe part. But if we want to write it for the unsubscribe part, what we can do, we can use the disconnected callback. So connected callback works whenever an element is added into the DOM or the component is added into the DOM. Disconnected callback works whenever a component is removed from the DOM. So when my component will get removed from the DOM, it will call the unsubscribe method, and which takes the subscription object in it and it will unsubscribe it from the LMS. Now there are few things which I want to tell you. Let's have a quick look on it. So it is like, just give me a second. So we have covered. Okay. So what is the another thing which I want to tell everyone? The thing is that when I am working with this subscribe, what happens, like if it is a communication between uh, LWC and visual force page or a component inside an active navigation tab, or we can I'm on this point, in an active navigation tab or an active navigation item or a utility item is always active. So if I'm doing any kind of communication between these things, then we will only be using three parameters in our subscribe function. But if I want to use this subscribe function anywhere in my application, or if I want to receive messages anywhere in my application, then we need to use a fourth parameter, which is the subscriber options. Okay. So this subscriber options is an object, kind of data type. You can just think it of this like, it is an object type of data type. So here subscriber option takes a scope. The key will be the scope, and its value will be application scope. So we are just increasing the scope. Now it is not the active one. It is like, it can receive message anywhere in the application. So how it works, first of all we need to import this application scope from lightning message service. So here, let's come over here, and if you guys can see over here, I need to import this application scope over here, where we are importing the subscribe as well, right? Now here we can see the example for the unsubscribe as well. When I want to do this unsubscribe as well, then also I need to import the unsubscribe function over here. So how this application scope works, this will be my fourth, if everyone can see, this will be my fourth parameter, scope colon application scope. Like I have shown in this slide, what we will mention, scope colon application scope. So it this increases the scope, like it makes the scope is like to whole application. So this is the fourth parameter. This we don't use generally, but if it based on the requirement actually, right? Okay, now let's have a let me just show you like how we can use the unscribe thing and subscribe thing as well. Like for the subscribe, we had a function subscribe to message channel. In the same way, we have a function unsubscribe to message channel. So what is the function? It is unsubscribe to message channel, right? Unsubscribe to message channel. So where I can call this function, I can call this function in the disconnected callback. Once my element will get removed from the DOM, or the component will get removed from the DOM, it will call the function, and inside this function what we are doing, I am calling the unsubscribe method. Like the subscribe method, we have unsubscribe method, which takes the subscription object, right? Which is this dot subscription. Once it will get unsubscribed, what we need to do, we need to make the subscription null again. Null means there is no subscription as of now. Okay, so this is how it works over here. Yeah, I think I have covered all these. Yes. Okay, now let's come to the next slide, which is the key pointers slide. Like I have already told about this point, like create message context thing. So when we are not using the lightning element to create our LWC, or we are using any service component, in that case we cannot use the @wire decorator. And to create the message context, we need to use create message context method, right? In the same way, what do we have to release the message context? If we want to unsubscribe or remove the subscriptions which we are associated with our LWC component, then we need to write this method release message context, and we will pass the message context inside it, the message context which we have created with this create message context. So where we can pass this release message context, again we can pass this in the disconnected callback area, like we did for the unsubscribe method, right? Because it won't get released for service components automatically, right? Now what is the next thing I want to inform? It is like there are some few limitations, or where when we work with the LMS. So it is supported in the lightning experience for standard navigation, console navigation. We can use the Salesforce mobile app for Aura and Lightning Web components. So means basically it is like for the Visual Force page, we cannot use the visual. We cannot use LMS for Visual Force page in the Salesforce mobile app. We can use it in the Lightning components, which are used in the Experience Builder sites. Now let's go through the points where LMS does not support. So in the Visual Force pages in the mobile app, which I have already informed, in the Lightning communities, and the message channel creation from Salesforce user interface. So this is all about the LMS. So now let's have quick questions if we have any.
Okay, guys. So hello. So if you have any query question regarding this session, so you can ask her. So she will give you the answer according to your question. Anyone, P- please feel free to ask her.
Yeah. If you have any questions like regarding any of the topic, I will be happy to answer it.
Yeah.
Hello, Rohit. Hello, Muskan. Thank you for the session. Uh, it was a great walkthrough. So I'm kind of a new person, okay, to this LWC.
Mm-hmm.
So I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
That's like unsubscribe versus release message context. Can you
Mm-hmm.
like differentiate that bit more on that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So basically, unsubscribe thing, as I have informed, like for the unsubscribe, we in the LWC component, if you are creating an LWC and you are using an a wire adapter, right? In that case, there is no need of using the unsubscribe. It unsubscribes it automatically, right? But if you want, you can add that unsubscribe method over there in the disconnected callback. Clear? Now, the thing is that when we are using a service component, so in that case, what will happen? The unsubscribe component, basically, it unsubscribes from the message channel, right? Means it will make the subscription null, right? It is used to make the subscription null. But here in the release message context, what will happen? It will not make that subscription null, but it will unsubscribe all the services. I hope I make the sense.
Okay. So I mean, unsubscribe all the services means or like or how many ever services I have subscribed. I mean,
No,
the receiver.
from that message channel,
Okay.
from that message channel for the subscription you have made. We have
Okay.
created one subscription object. If you remember, should I share my screen again?
No, I remember. I remember. Yes.
Yeah. So we created a the subscription object, right? Using the
Yes.
subscribe function. In the subscribe function, I pass the information about my listener, about my channel, and about my message context, right? So based
Yes.
on that channel and the message context, it will unsubscribe the services.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions?
Guys, feel free to ask her if you have any question. Otherwise, we can wrap up our event. I
Yes.
think
Uh,
no.
yeah. Seems like
So
so.
yeah. So we can wrap up our session. And thank you everyone for your time. And thank you Muskan for this amazing event. And hopefully you will be get to know about all the events regarding this Salesforce community. And I will show you the different kind of new things inside our Salesforce environment. So please keep in touch. And yeah, thank you again. And please uh, like happy weekend for all of you. Thank you again. Bye bye, take care.
Thanks
See ya.
everyone for joining this session.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for it.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.